What's up guys and welcome. You are watching Fazi Fitness. So let's start this video with the most recent physique update from Quinton Beastwood, who looks absolutely huge in the off-season. And I have got to say too lean for the off-season. But this is how Quinton is rolling for 2025 bodybuilding season. So this is another great bodybuilding project in the making. The world has yet to see his true potential. And we got just a glimpse of what Quinton is truly capable of last year at Toronto Pro, when everyone counted him out. And the reason for that was his horrible comeback at the New York Pro, where he placed below everyone's expectations and also below his own expectations. But he came back a lot better at Toronto Pro. He placed second behind Hakeem Williams and added another second place finish to his resume. So how great is Quinton's structure? That can be summarized with Toronto Pro results that he was nowhere close to being in the same condition as a guy like John Jewett, but structurally, he was just so superior that the judges placed him above John. And Hakeem Williams is a mass monster, he's a big guy. And Quinton was actually dwarfing him in certain shots because the man is just so wide and he looks so huge on the stage. Now, I personally think that Quinton is gonna make it to the Olympia stage this year if he chooses the right shoe. The first step, that is earning his Olympia spot, his Olympia qualification, as Quinton has been a pro for so many years now. The problem is that the fans just start comparing him to Andrew Jack and Samson Dauda when he just isn't on that same level as of right now. He has the height, he has the aesthetics, but the thickness and the overall muscularity of these two tall guys, they are just on a whole different level. So Quinton, with that same powerful physique that we saw in Toronto Pro last year, with more dryness and more density, that is gonna make it to the Olympia stage this year for sure. So Hostile just dropped some Sherpa-lined zip-up hoodies and forced hooded jackets. So do check them out and use the code Fazi10 to get 10% extra discount. So someone in Patrick Moore's corner has to be really honest with him over that DirectX accident that happened to him at this past Arnold. Because according to him, that was the main reason Patrick did not look that good on the stage, or look as good as he wanted to, or place that well at this past Arnold. But I have got to say the brutal and the honest truth is that it just would not have mattered. His placing just would not be any better in a deep lineup like this past Arnold.
So I'm learning these things, sometimes it's a hard lesson, and sometimes it works out. But, as I expressed in the Instagram post, DirectX are tough. It's a tough game to play because you just never know what you're going to get.
Because he could have been as peeled as the Olympia back in 2019, which in my opinion was the best look of his entire pro career. And just a reminder that the same coach whom Patrick Moore is blaming for giving him DirectX at this past Arnold weekend, Chris Aceto, that same coach helped him get into the best condition of his life, of his career, way back in 2019. Now, I'm not trying to throw any shade on Patrick or questioning his hard work. He must have put in a lot of effort, a lot of work in gaining some size in the last couple of years. But there are some genetic limitations, and not everyone is meant to be 300 pounds. Now, in my opinion, Patrick just wasted too much time when he first came onto the scene. In the beginning of his career, he just did not take those long off season, which should have been the case after that Miss Olympia 2019, and he should have just focused on getting bigger. So he made his Olympia debut way back in 2019, 6 years ago, and 6 years later, we are still talking about that same stuff, that he needs more size to be competitive in the current era. That being said, most of us, we still do not agree that Patrick should have chosen classic physique instead of the men's open bodybuilding, because the man is just too big for classic. Next up, we have the off-season physique update from Ramon Dino. Now, Ramon has been off to a superb start for this off-season, and him getting that opportunity to train with the former Miss Olympia and the reigning Arnold champion, Derek Lunsford, during those final few weeks before the Arnold, and watching him win that show against all the odds, that must have been very motivating for him. Because after last year, and the way 2024 went by for Ramon, he is kind of an underdog for this upcoming Miss Olympia, and people just aren't really considering him a serious threat to win the Olympia title anymore in Classic. So underestimating an athlete like Ramon Dino, who has won the Arnold, and who has really pushed a guy like Chris Bumstead, and that too for 2 years in a row. So taking a guy like that lightly, or underestimating a guy like that, that is gonna be a big mistake. He just had one bad year, And up until the Olympiad 2023, he was being considered the next in line after Chris Bumstead to carry the torch of classic physique. And we have to keep in mind, even at his worst, Ramon was still 4th best in the world. And that is saying something. So Ramon has been pushing some seriously heavy weights in the gym during this off-season. And this is the first time he's using the entire year to focus on just one show, the Olympia. And he has to show up at his all-time best if he wants to fight for that Miss Olympia title. And most importantly, he has to work on his posing and presentation. And he has to work on presenting himself in the best possible way, especially against a guy like Mike Sommerfeld and Terence Ruffin. Just go back to how he presented himself back in 2023, and I must say he will be fine. So this will be one of the most memorable year for classic physique division. And a lot of eyes, they are gonna be on Norse and Ramon Dino, two young and very experienced guys. And both of these guys chose not to do the Arnold this year, to peak 100% for just one show, the Olympia in October. So do let me know what you guys think. Who is the favorite in your opinion to win that classic physique Olympia this year? Next up, we have a full-blown physique update from Hassan Mustafa, the first phase of his prep that has started, as Hassan is looking to compete early in the summer this time. So the one difference that is noticeable in Hassan's approach for this season is that he tried to stay relatively lean throughout the off-season while going very heavy in terms of the weight. So he's still just shy of 300 pounds in this update. But that, I have got to say, is a reasonably looking 300 pounds, unlike some of the previous years when he got really out of shape, chasing size. Now Hassan Mustafa chasing size. That was probably the biggest mistake of his career. And looking back at his physique from 2019 Tampa Pro, which was one of the first shows that he did as a professional, he just was a better bodybuilder back then in terms of his overall symmetry. He actually had a smaller waistline back then compared to what he has now, compared to how his physique looks like, especially in the recent past. And all that additional size, that just did not benefit Hassan Mustafa at all, because lately we have seen that the judging has shifted towards more aesthetics and more streamlined physiques. So the margin of error for a guy like Hassan Mustafa, especially this year, that is literally zero. There is so much great talent out there, so hungry to get that Olympia qualification. And Hassan Mustafa has that type of physique, where his muscularity can rival anyone out there. But if he is even just a tiny bit off, even just 2% off, he drops down to 5th place, even in an Olympia qualifier. Next up, we have the physique update from Hunter Labrada. So even the pressure of this past Arnold, where the top guys, they looked so incredible, that did not get to him. And Hunter continues his plan of staying in the health phase for more than 4 months now. And that is a way longer health phase than he has ever taken before in his career. So we cannot wait to see how this season turns out, especially for Hunter Labrada, because his body is going to respond totally differently, with all of his receptors being so fresh. And I have got to say, these guys at the top level, they are just so gifted. So how Hunter maintains that amount of muscle mass with very decent looking body composition, and that too over an extended period of time, that is simply amazing. And that too while being off from everything. But then again, he has been given the top tier genetics by his father, the legend Lee Labrada. Now some of us were really impressed with how Hunter looked at the Olympia prejudging, especially when he first came out. But as of right now, they're still figuring out how Hunter can maintain hotness throughout the prejudging, because him fading, that was the main reason he did not place above a guy like Andrew Jacked, although he was beating him on Friday, and he was actually fighting with Martin Fitzwater for that 4th place. So Hunter was initially interested in doing this year's Arnold, but he decided to clean out his system. So last year when Hunter guest posed at the Pittsburgh Pro, he was 300 pounds, and they were able to achieve that initial goal set by him and his coach Ben Chow, beating his Tampa Pro 2023 look, but with a lot more mass. So curious to see what show Hunter is gonna go for to earn his Olympia spot for this year. So hit the thumbs up button if you liked the video, and smash the subscribe button if you wanna come back for more. Thanks for watching.